Hey everyone, I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro Max for the past 9 months since the day it came out, and during all of that time, I've been working on creating the ultimate iOS setup. From widgets to apps, shortcuts, and everything in between, as well as ways to actually even just detach from my phone entirely and focus on tasks that I'm working on, or even just the outside world. Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's start at the lock screen. I've kept it pretty simple here, starting out with bold text for the clock, a weather widget which shows everything from the high and low temperature, current weather, upcoming conditions, and the current temperature, and a small calendar and battery widget. And after unlocking, we can see my home screen. And before we talk about the layout, the wallpaper and icon pack for this setup I designed myself. They're available on my website at the link in the description down below, and also on screen right now. Now, I realize the layout of my applications is a little bit non-conventional, and I've actually been using this exact layout for a few years now, and that's because it just really works out well for me. I'm right-handed, and I find it really easy to tap applications, but I'm just using my phone with one hand, which is most of the time, so I can just move my thumb around and easily tap applications on the dock or on the actual home screen. Now, I'm not using the iOS 18 beta at this point, so I can't just place applications anywhere normally, so I'm using an application called MD Blank to add widgets and blank spaces to position the apps in the bottom right corner. I've also added some information to these blank widgets so they're a bit more useful and functional. And this app is actually insane. It took me forever to actually find something like this, and I'm really happy with this application. It allows so much customization. You can create your own widgets, choose colors, fonts, and everything. And I've actually settled on this day and calendar widget and this analog clock widget. But I'm still playing with this application. I might change the colors or the font or the widgets entirely, but for now, I'm pretty happy with these. Now, I do only have one page on my home screen, not multiple pages, just this single one, so I wanted to take full advantage of this space. So these widgets are actually smart stack widgets, meaning I've stacked multiple widgets on top of each other, so when I swipe up on the clock, for example, it shows me my music widget. If I swipe on the calendar, it shows the Apple Calendar widget for more detailed information as well as upcoming meetings and appointments. And if I swipe on the top blank space, it brings up Apple's weather app with information for the temperature, weather, upcoming conditions. It's pretty useful to have that right there. And what I like about this format for my home screen is being able to control how much information I see at a given time, and I can choose to keep my home screen pretty minimal and blank or full of information, and it can transform to however I want it to look. And if I want to keep my home screen even more minimal, I can actually swipe down again on these widgets to have them go to completely blank widgets to match my wallpaper. It creates a super clean home screen with no distractions, no information, just the base wallpaper and my icons. So I have plenty of options for how I want my daily home screen to look. And the apps on my home screen are the ones that I use every single day. My most used applications like Maps and Music, Safari, texting, email, just the essentials. And the way I have custom icons for these applications is through shortcuts. I've created shortcuts to these applications within the Shortcuts app and added my own custom icon to each one. And swiping right on my home screen, I have the widgets view. There's the battery widget showing the charge of all my connected nearby devices, a widget for Nike Run Club to quickly start a run and have those kilometers added to my total for the month, and below that is a widget for my smart home devices including blinds, lights, and temperature. And below that widget is a bunch of quick shortcuts for AirPlaying to my Sonos speakers. And I also have one shortcut to stop playback entirely and switch back to my phone output. And the last shortcut here is one for quickly scanning documents to save in my Files app. It's great for things like receipts, documents, business cards, or invoices. It's very handy to have right there. And on the other side of my home screen is my app library. I do have a bunch of applications here, but I try to only keep the essentials and prefer to use app versions of websites versus having to go to mobile sites like Amazon or eBay, for example, just to keep things more streamlined on my device. Now, this is my iPhone home screen for most of the time, but during those days, during those times I really have to focus and lock in with no distractions, I do have a special focus mode. Maybe I'm working on a project or shoot, or just need some time to myself. All I have to do is say, Siri, I need a break. And just like that, my home screen transforms using a focus mode combined with a shortcut. I can also just swipe down and access my custom focus mode, or even just tap my clock widget that I've set up to take me to my special distraction-free mode. So with this mode, it does a couple things. The first thing it does is cleans up my home screen, only leaving a blank wallpaper with text telling me that yes, I do need a break. I've used the MD Blank app to make this happen, and it also does have options for different focus modes where your wallpaper and widgets can actually change dynamically, which is pretty sweet. And all my home screen apps are gone, just keeping my essential apps in the dock. But that's not all, I wanted to go even further. So I wanted to find a way to keep me from using distracting apps like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, other social apps, things that are gonna waste my time and be distracting. So I created a shortcut alongside an automation and chose all the distracting apps that I really shouldn't be using with this mode on. And all of this combined, whenever I open any distracting apps, it will immediately vibrate the phone, kick me out of the app, and tell me you need a break. And no matter how many times I try to open these apps, it'll just keep kicking me out and just won't let me in. I could even have all of this automatically trigger when I reach a certain location or a certain time of day, or I'm doing a certain activity. There's a lot of options here for automation. Yes, I know, this is kind of extreme and also a little bit silly that I have to do all of this to keep me focused on my tasks or just in the real world. But some days I just need that restriction and that reminder to stay off of these distracting apps and just focus on the things I actually need to do and focus on the moment. Like for example, I'm scrolling on TikTok for an hour and I definitely need a break. I turn this mode on and every time I want to open it up again, it just kicks me off and I can just focus on my work, get back to it. And when I'm done with this focus mode, I've taken a nice break away from these distracting apps, I can simply just swipe down and turn it off just like that. And it takes me back to my normal home screen. And that is my perfect iPhone setup. I don't really even know how I can improve on this setup even more beyond maybe things in iOS 18 that are coming out, maybe implementing some of those new features, but for now, this is what I'm sticking with. I really do love the ability for my phone to transform in different ways, whether it's transforming widgets to hide and show information, whether it's with icons or wallpapers, or even an entirely different mode that lets me focus on my work and prevents me from actually being distracted. I remember when even a few years ago, half of these features were either heavily limited or just not available at all. iOS has definitely become a lot more open and lets you do a lot more interesting things to improve your daily experience. And that's it. So let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on my iPhone setup. Any things you'd change? What are some things you'd like? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and thank you for watching.